Thanks very much. I'm glad to see people got up and started getting more food. That was good. So following up on Nicole is always a hard thing to do, hard act to follow. I've done this a few times now. But what I wanted to do is actually give you a case study of something that's happening right here in Massachusetts that's been replicated both at our community college level, starting to be replicated within the state college system, and has been used as a model at places such as NC State, UCLA, et cetera. So it's one of those models that's easily adopted by another institution. But I'll let you decide on that. So as Nicole was mentioning, the textbook trends have been going up dramatically over the past 10 to 12 years. When I gave a presentation about this topic to our faculty senate, these are the kind of graphs that we used, and our provost a couple of years ago was from the medical industry, and to see that the price of textbooks, which is the blue line you see, was higher than that of medical supplies, he was really shocked. I think people just aren't aware, and you have to find the medium of the message that meets what their particular career is based on. Well, what happened to that? This is a problem with our screen or something. So anyway, the goals of our Open Education Initiative, it was not like that yesterday, but anyway, they're to provide small incentive grants to faculty to look for alternatives to high-cost textbooks. It's been funded by the provost, actually, and some other partners at this point, and the university libraries. These small grants vary between $1,000 and $2,500 based on the number of students that are enrolled in the course. So if it's 200 or more students, it's the $2,500 figure. We're looking to provide support and infrastructure for the creation and or use of open education resources and library content. So we've got, if you look at that and tease it apart a bit, we've got 3 prongs to it. So faculty can create new content, especially if it's a brand new like interdisciplinary course or something along that line, or there's not any content available for that kind of course. They can use open education resources like what Nicole was showing you earlier, or they can use some of the content that's in library databases. And this really is taking significant advantage of the content the libraries are already paying for on behalf of the universities. The other piece is to engage our teaching and learning partners, which are listed here below, and the faculty in the whole concept of open education. I'll talk more about our partners in a few minutes. So we already know about open education resources, so I will skip this slide. We decided that we needed to have workshops for our faculty and librarians and other supporting entities on the campus. So we developed 2 different types of 1-hour workshops that are reviewing open educational resources, library resources, and other ways that individuals can meet the specifications of these grants. We also decided that we needed to have individual consultation sessions for faculty, because when they hear about these grants and those grant announcements go out through the provost's office, they want to come to the workshops, but their schedules preclude it. And so it's always very interesting to have these individual one-on-one sessions with them, because every faculty member's scenario is different, it has different challenges and needs. So the kind of topics that we cover in these workshops include what are there for available resources for the different disciplines. We also talk about copyright. We talk about licensing issues. Faculty are very concerned about fair use in regard to all of these issues as well. So we talk about that. Accessibility is a large concern. We want to make sure that students that have any kind of disability issues, et cetera, are taken care of. We also are looking to create a sustainable curriculum. So what we really want the faculty members to be able to do is to start using alternatives to high-cost textbooks and continue to do that semester after semester, and even decide that they want to transform all their courses into the using of open education resources. So then we also have our IT folks there to help faculty if they have any issues or want to talk further about how to integrate that within the learning management system. And we have 2 at the UMass Amherst campus. We have Blackboard and we have Moodle. So This didn't come across very well, but this is one of the other things that the library has done to support the initiative, which is to create a subject guide for open education resources. And we have several different tabs at the top of that, one of which is called for educators, and buried within that tab are reams of different places to go to look for open education resources. So we work together with a faculty member to find out which sites are the best for their particular needs. So the kinds of things we talk about regarding copyright and author rights, if they're creating their own things, they want to protect their own copyright on the works that they create. So we talk to them about the Creative Commons licenses, and there's this little bit of information there about what the licenses feature. They also want to make sure that they're not infringing on the rights of others. So we want to make sure that when we talk to them, if they're using some other content, that it's a fair use argument. So always these answers do depend on each individual situation. That's where those individual consults come in very handy. They're also very interested in the whole open access movement, and so it does take a while at times, if people aren't familiar with the Creative Commons license, to describe all of the license features that were on the slide that Nicole shared earlier, what it means to be open. Do you want to share it? Do you want to have it be available for others to be able to take advantage of in a commercial venture or not? So quite a bit of conversation is engaged in that. So a lot of people ask me, what do your little grants entail? So I thought I'd just put this slide in so you could see really how easy it is. It's at the most 2 pages that then we take a look at the end. So what we're looking for is a basic course information, the number of students who are going to be enrolled in the course, and the current textbook and cost, if you have that. If it's a brand new course, you just kind of estimate what you would have used. This is the figure that we use, these are the figures we use, I should say, to tell what the savings are going to be for the students. So we also ask them to give us an estimate of when they're going to implement this. We ask really that, so if we were to do a grant round this spring, for example, which would have happened already, then we ask that they implement this in the fall or the following spring. Occasionally there are extenuating circumstances that arise, but we try to have them do that within the next 2 following semesters. Then we ask them just to give us a short narrative about what their work is going to be, what they expect the outcomes to be, sustainability issues, and if they have any challenges or other kinds of concerns that they might have. The assessment techniques that they plan to use, and we work with our Center for Teaching and Faculty Development if they need any assistance with that kind of thing. So this gives you an example of the type of partners that we use in this initiative. So like I mentioned, the call for proposals goes out from the provost's office in collaboration with the libraries and the other partners who are involved in the program. I'm the lead on this, and so I send the faculty out a little email that gives them the award letter. Then they get the official letter a couple weeks later from the provost, him or herself. The consultation with the partners happens prior to the award, so we work with our IT folks if it looks like there are problems or any kind of challenges that might arise. I mean, some people are really interested in making sure that the wireless is working in their classroom, or they're teaching in a new flipped classroom model and they want to talk with the Center for Teaching about some new rubrics that they can put in place. There's just all kinds of fascinating things that we get involved in discussions with them about. Also, the librarians are called in if the faculty think that they might want to use some of the library resources. Political science is a really good example. They like to keep really current and up to date with the kind of readings that their students are using, and so they a lot of times will want to talk with the library liaison to see what's the most current information in our databases. Then after we get these proposals in, so say we make the deadline March 15th, we try to do a really quick turnaround of a couple of weeks. I mean, these are only, short 2-page proposals. So the peer review group, which is listed down there on the lower corner, is including some of the support people, so the Center for teaching and faculty development and the OIT library, academic computing folks, along with some faculty from our IT minor academic program that we have at our university. And we pull in librarians on an as-needed basis that are in addition to my office. So as we've developed this since 2011, we've also come up with some various informal assessment methods, as well as some that are more formal. We've used surveys, both for faculty and for students. We've also had some interviews with both those entities, and we've worked with our institutional research office, which are the ones that do the iPad surveys and all those kind of things. And they do the course evaluation that the students do at the end of the semester, added some questions to those surveys the students filled out, specifically about their open education experience. So I was disappointed when we got the results back, and the students were like, you know, this is fine, like it, you know, and the grades were good. And so the institutional research person said to me, Marilyn, I think this is actually really good news, because what you want to see is that by the faculty member instituting open education resources, that the students are learning at least as well as they were before. And that's what I see from these results. And the added benefit is they had no textbook costs they had to purchase. I'll come back to some more results from that in a few minutes. But so we were asking the kinds of questions that you see there. So then our faculty survey that we did, we thought the results came back really positively. While you read that, I will also say that in one informal conversation I had with a member of our sociology department, she teaches online globally. She, in the past, had assigned a textbook, and the students would purchase it through Amazon, and it would take 2 weeks, a month, maybe sometimes longer, for them internationally to get the textbook that they wanted. So I turned her on to the OpenStax sociology textbook. She said, this is really awesome. It's exactly the kind of content I want to be teaching my students. And so that's what she assigned the following semester. And the students were just ecstatic that they had the textbook right then and there. Sometimes some of the areas of the world don't have as facile an internet network as we do, but they were able to work on that at their local area. And so the students didn't have to wait. And as Nicole was mentioning earlier, they had the material right then and there at the beginning of the course, so they were able to be actively engaged in the conversations online. So it made she said it made a huge difference in what the students were able to learn through the course of the semester. I also have a page here that you'll have these slides, so you can take a look at these, some of the other comments that faculty have shared with us in the beginnings of the semester, the end of the semester when they complete the course. One of our other faculty members who's in the College of Education, who is one of our early adopters of open education resources, was astounded at how excited the students were and how engaged they were in the course discussion. I kind of alluded to the fact that maybe because she had chosen the content and was really involved in that maybe her enthusiasm for the content that she had picked, that she knew the students needed to learn, was another reason why the students were so engaged. So she was so involved with it that she decided she was going to write a journal article in her own literature. So I thought that was a really great outcome because it shares within their academic field the results of using open education resources. So what have we learned? What worked? We discovered that using these mini grants to provide incentives to faculty to really look at what they're offering for curriculum materials was a key factor. Also, they really appreciated the fact that these applications for the grants were peer-reviewed. We use peer review all the time in the other work that we do, so they understand the value of that. Also in the peer review process, we can go back and forth with the faculty member if we see these issues, and it brings it up so that they can polish that off a bit. And we're meeting faculty and their cohorts where they are in their teaching environment, something that may not have always happened, at least for the libraries. And we create small cohorts. The faculty members that win the awards every semester, we create these groups and clusters for them. And one particular semester, I remember pulling some of them into my office, and they actually graduated from the same institutions, and same institution had similar members but had never met. So they left. When they left, they were just collaborating on, reminiscing on their past experiences. That was just an interesting anecdotal piece that happened. We're also really capitalizing on what the strengths are that the library brings to the table and the value of our existing services, and then leveraging the complementary strengths that our partners have. And that's proven very powerful. We've already been working with them over a period of time within our libraries for our learning commons and those kind of things, and this is another wonderful opportunity to work together and strengthen that relationship. So what didn't work? Or what are some of the challenges? So the faculty are unaware of the existence of open education resources, and some of them aren't really thinking about using library databases for their curriculum materials. They use them for their research and hadn't made that connection in the past. And they also didn't know about the existence of all of these other resources that are available to them. Some of them have said how time-consuming it can be to find that open education content, which is why we want to engage with them from the beginning and help them whenever we possibly can. Some of the resources actually may lack prepared quizzes and other content, so we try to steer them in the direction of some of the better areas for finding open education resources that do have those supplemental materials for them. Some students may prefer print, so what have we done for that? One of our faculty members was teaching in an open GIS lab, and he had created a manual because there was nothing in his subject field at all. We put it on our institutional repository, ScholarWorks, and then he said, oh, I'm really concerned about maybe there's some students that really would rather not have it online but have a print copy. So I shared with him the site called lulu.com, and we put a copy there, and so the students can download a really nice soft cover, not the hardcover that's going around the room, but a nice paperback, really, that gets shipped to them, and it costs about $35, I think. So that seems, that's within our realm of what is affordable. So some of the other results, we started in, as we said, back in 2011, and we started with $10,000 grants, and so the numbers that you see there are shorter blue graphs because we didn't have as much money to invest at the beginning. Round 3, we invested in the large general education courses. We had discovered that the faculty who taught those large classes weren't interested in exploring this if it was only $1,000 because it just wasn't worth the risk. So talked with the provost's office, and that's when we increased the grants up to $2,500 for those courses. And so you see the huge bump because we got an intro physics class and an intro math class to be our first tests, I guess, in this particular area. And then the second round 5 is still in the works. So we haven't seen the actual dollar savings figures. But so yes, it's been over $1 million. We're still working out exactly what that dollar figure is, but we found people from the first round who have replicated this, 3 or 4 times at this point. Here are some resources if you're interested in additional information and if you want to know a little bit more about the challenges that faculty face. For example, the Babson survey is a really good one to take a look at. Probably many of you know about the Horizon report that comes out every year. If you take a look at that, 2 to 3 years out trend, open education. So you can justify maybe making some moves in that direction currently. And then the students with their open textbook $1 billion solution challenge. So that leads me right down to the student advocacy. The MassPER group has been really active in promoting this kind of work happening. And in fact, just yesterday, I had a call from a student over at the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts in North Adams. He said, oh my gosh, it snowed here last night. I said, yeah, it did here too. And then we had a good, half-hour-long conversation about open education and how to develop advocacy strategies. So I know there was a student here who wanted to just say a few words. So Allison, I think is her name. But yeah.
For what your campus can start working on and what they're already doing, actually.
So far this semester, what we've mainly been doing is been collecting petitions from students, explaining to them what open education resources are, and trying to gain their support to try to get the textbooks initiative on campus. We actually just met with SGA and the student government on campus and passed an SGA resolution to get their support that they've been having open textbooks initiative on campus. I don't know if any of you see us walking around on the third floor of arts. We've been faculty canvassing, trying to get faculty endorsements, saying that they endorse getting open educational resources. So we've been collecting petitions and arranging one-on-one faculty meetings to explain a little bit about our goals. We have a goal of getting 50 faculty endorsements, 1,000 student petitions, and 10 professors that actually agree to switch to open educational resources. So also been doing photo petitions as well, as you can see up there. So that's really what we've been working on this semester. Hope to continue that semester and actually get a program on campus.
That'd be great. Thank you very much for all of your work that you're doing.
I could just add one thing that I'll be talking with the State Higher Education Commission in June. I was just asked if I was available in June, so I don't know exactly what the topic will be, but they have, a couple of legislators have filed legislation as a placeholder and just want to talk about it and see the best ways to move forward with all of this. So I'm going to be strategizing with Nicole and Yvette as to what we can, how we can help shape that legislation at the statewide level. So having faculty supporters, student supporters, all critical. And then turning it over to each local campus to figure out how we might work together to support this kind of work. So thank you, Tracy, for having us here today.
Any questions for Marilyn?
Yeah.
A lot of discussion about making it something out of the president's office to make it easier to get involved in campuses.
I've actually talked with folks in the president's office, and they seem positive about it. So it seemed, however, to be maybe the best strategy to make sure that each of the campuses does have something in place to provide some support, at least for a pilot, before we push that really more strongly. I could be wrong in that, but it just seems like, you know, when you get somebody like a president's office not necessarily mandating but strongly encouraging this versus having it be a groundswell up, it might be good to have it groundswell and then have the administration really actively supporting it.
Yeah. Or I guess maybe more what I was thinking is coordination.
Right.
My teaching course that I know colleagues at Amherst and all of these similar courses, it would be silly if we did a lot of duplication.
Yeah.
Creating open resources for when we're teaching the same syllabus on often the same way.
Really good points.
Marilyn, the grant that the faculty get, is that just a stipend for the faculty member to incentivize them to do this work?
They can use it also. I know some who have used that to reimburse TA to help. If, for example, a person in the vet and animal sciences had a lot of lab notes that he'd had for years, and that was really his textbook. He called it his green book, but it was not really like polished up for dissemination to students the way he would like. So he hired a TA to work with him on making that more polished, I guess, is the only way I can say it. How to inoculate a horse, you know, those kind of things. And then we worked with them too in making sure he had images that were, you know, openly, you know, Creative Commons licenses, or he could create his own new images in the cases where he needed to do that. So.
We started with $10,000 and saved well over about $1 million to farmers. It's really awesome.
I think it is worth noting, just to let folks know that it was a relatively newly formed group. It's a collaboration of a lot of those 19 folks, council, communication. And we're very interested, obviously, in this, and getting ourselves educated, and getting the library out together, and hopefully we'll see something forward. So I think the frameworks to get into come into place.
What's the structure like that? UMass Boston, UMass Lowell? Are you familiar with that? Marilyn, I understand what you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job at Amherst.
So, Nicole, 3-4 weeks ago, we did a presentation for an open ed conference at UMass Boston. And so they're working on it. They have a whole team of people that they've got started working on this. So I'm not sure if they're going to start up this fall or not, but they are definitely having these kind of conversations. At Lowell, I owe them a phone call, which isn't going to happen today.
My apologies, this question actually isn't for you, but it's for this young lady.
It's quite fine.
I have online students exclusively, and a lot of people who are teaching exclusively online. Are you recruiting those students for your petition as well?
It just explains to them like what open educational resources are and asking them if they support the campaign. So it's just pretty much any student. Yeah, definitely if I reach out to them, I will do so.
It's a really good, yeah. So we've actually partnered in a few cases with our continuing professional education group because they are the ones that are responsible for the online learning at UMass Amherst, and we've done some joint webcasts for faculty, not for the students. So that's a really good idea to get in touch with the students of those courses. So they, by doing these shared webcasts, we talk about the whole open education environment, and then the instructional designers within CPE, we call it, go in and share with them how we can go about embedding open education materials right into a course. And by the time they're done looking at this webinar, it's all laid out for them.
Have you had any issues with people actually delivering stuff if you give them a stipend up front? My editor at Pearson used to have all kinds of stories of people who spent their advances 10 years ago and are still waiting for the book.
Well, since we're not waiting for books, we're just looking for them to change around their curriculum. That what we have had happen is faculty say, oh, I can't do this right now, and give the stipend back. So then I give it to somebody else. So maybe it's a social justice issue too, because they understand what we're trying to accomplish, and so they don't want to take it unfairly. So I have had, I think, just 2 examples of faculty giving the money back so we could reallocate it.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah,
very
you're
much.
welcome.